Today's episode is going to be getting to know Jenny and I a little bit better. We're going to start off with Jenny because Jenny actually started her fitness journey about 6 months before I did. If you hear some background noise, we apologize. Our puppies are digging for a ball in the backyard. So
running around, chasing the ball, doing whatever dogs do.
You will see them periodically. As we like to say, we like to feature them because they are part of our lifestyle and part of our family. So let's just get a little more interesting and let's talk about your journey. What got you here? What started it? You know, what was the moment, if any, that flipped that light switch for you?
So first, let me preface to everyone watching that does not know me personally, which will be 99.9% of everyone. I don't like to talk a lot. I am a person who tries to say as few words as possible. So anytime I need to say something and talk about myself, it'll be difficult. So I apologize for that in advance right now. But all right, let's talk about me for now.
Which is why we said this is authentic. This is going to come out just the way it is. We purposely did not edit the introductory video at the very end.
Oh, I know.
Because it fits our personality, more specifically Jenny's personality, where she was like, if we didn't get it, then we got it anyway.
We got it.
That's her way of saying, I am done talking. Let's stop recording. Let's just go ahead and get this thing launched. So it makes for great fun.
Yes. So, okay, me. All right. So, as I said in the intro video, I'm 42. And I grew up healthy, playing sports, very active. I wasn't a skinny kid. I wasn't an overweight kid. But for my generation, we all know that kids in the 90s had to live up to this unrealistic expectation of the beauty standards in the 90s. And so it was, for those that weren't born into that stick figure body type, it was harder. So we all, at the end of the day, I don't care when you were born, everyone has body image issues.
But that's what I was going to say. I was like, I think that we relate it back to our youth and our informative years.
What happened at the youth,
and what was going on in society in general, like the popular trends. Everybody wants to be acknowledged for looking good. There are some, it just seems effortless. That wasn't necessarily the case.
Me. I am never effortless. No. No. Okay. So yeah, going back to the 90s, and then I played sports going into high school and into my 20s.
What sports did you play? I mean, I think it's important because we can say backgammon, that's a sport, and it's not very physically active. So, but you actually played physically active sports.
Yes, tennis and swimming, and then when I was in the Navy, I played soccer, and then after the Navy, it was just, I ran. I loved to run. I wasn't a good runner, but I tried. I always said I wogged, which is a combination of walking and jogging. Yes. Got into trail running for a little bit, but yeah.
Disastrous. Don't ever let your wife go trail running with bad ankles.
It was a klutz.
It was a klutz. Many conversations post her trail run where she had to walk off the trail, find the nearest fire department to be able to get service assistance to wrap her ankle. Thank you for our first responders for assisting with people like my wife who are accident prone.
I am very much
in that way.
Yeah.
So did your parents support your?
Yes, so that's a key thing. So yeah, they were both professional athletes. They supported me, but they didn't want me to have that lifestyle. So fast forward to my 20s where I met you and we started building a life together. I adopted your lifestyle, which wasn't as healthy as what I was living. Granted, mine wasn't healthy per se. It just was more active, I should say. Yeah, more active.
Well, let's hit this up in a very meaningful way, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, you're 42 now. You were how old when we met?
24.
Okay.
24.
And your weight at that time was?
About 170. We'll be about 170, 180 maybe tops. Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, and I asked that because I think weight is nothing more than a number, right? Because a pound of fat versus a pound of muscle weighs the same.
And I'm 5'4" for all y'all. So
yeah, pound of fat, pound of muscle weighs exactly the same. It's just the volume, right? So at 172 pounds, I looked at you and I thought you look spectacular. You know, that was my impression. You may not have had the same impression about your own figure or body. You know, but let me ask you, was it better or worse than before you went to the Navy? So at 172 pounds, is that what you went to the Navy at, or?
Yes, because when I was in boot camp, I actually lost weight because I did. Okay. I graduated high school a year early, so I had cut sports and do all that. So I ended up gaining weight right before the Navy. Lost it in boot camp, and then gained it back before I met you. Not all of it, obviously, but yeah. Once we started dating, the weight started slowly coming back on, and just like anyone in a happy relationship, you don't really notice those things until you're like, oh my God, that was 10 pounds. Where did those 10 pounds come from? Like, and then it's 20 pounds, and then it's 30 pounds, and it keeps escalating to the point where I realize that I'm 100 pounds more than I was when we first met.
But my lifestyle was a hot mess of bad personal choices. But I just wanted to make sure I reinforced that I had a terrible lifestyle that you kind of adopted. So you took my lifestyle, you gained a bunch of weight, as you said. What was the moment?
It was, so part of the journey too, we moved to Seattle. That's where I gained the majority of the weight. And while we lived there, I came down, I developed, whatever word you want to use for getting SAD, the seasonal affective disorder, or
right.
Seasonal depression. And once we moved back, I still had it, even though it's not as bad here in Texas. But I still get it. Like right now, because it's the winter and the days aren't very long, it still affects me. But so I have to be cognizant of that. But let me go back to that. So when we were in Seattle, I tried multiple times to try to get the weight off, whether it was snowboarding all the time, or walking all the time, or just trying to be more active. Nothing worked. We moved back to Texas and multiple diets, exercise plans, hired a couple coaches to give me meal plans. Nothing. I could never get below 200. No matter what I tried. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the fact that I didn't, I wasn't weighing my food then, so could that be part of it? Probably, but I did what I knew, because you don't know what you don't know. And at that time, I didn't know macro counting. I didn't know about that.
We haven't even gotten to
into
macro counting.
Yeah, so that's that. I know I just gave you a preview of the what I attribute my success to, but the long story short is I tried every diet. I tried Weight Watchers, I tried Jenny Craig, I tried just diet and exercise, counting calories, a specific meal plan where you need to eat X, Y, and Z at X time, all of it, and nothing worked. I also do have PCOS. Does that play a factor in it? I don't know. But the breaking point to me was I was busting my butt for, let's say, 6 months.
Oh, I definitely 6 months.
I mean, I was regimented for 6 months, and I didn't get below 220 at this point. So you had come to me and you were like, have you considered weight loss surgery? And I
did.
said no. Why? Because I always had the impression that was the easy way out.
Yeah, that journey in of itself. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Fortunately for me and my insurance at the time, required prerequisites. And one of those prerequisites was counseling, therapy, talking to a therapist, whatever you want to call it. And that is the single contributing factor that I will put my eggs in a basket of what I think I hold to, because in speaking with the therapist, I was able to find the root of my food addiction.
Yeah.
And one thing I always say is, addiction is a daily struggle, whether it be food, cigarettes, alcohol, whatever your vice is. In order to overcome it, you have to know what you're fighting. You have to know your battle. You
gotta put the work in to understand yourself.
Right. And so I understood where my addiction stemmed from, and so okay, now I have to take action in order to overcome it. And let me tell you, to this day, it is still a struggle to overcome food addiction. I have to mentally be cautious and cognizant of what I'm putting in my mouth, and still be like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that.
I think that you do a great job of, oh, that looks amazing. I want a piece of that. You jump in there and you grab it, right? And once you put it in your mouth and you taste it, if it's not something that appeals to you, then you automatically go, no, not worth the calories,
not worth
and
the
you
calories.
just kind of throw it down and be like, oh, disappointing.
Yeah. Now, at this point in the journey, I am more open with you of I can't.
I'm going to say you're more selfish about what you need, and I can appreciate that.
Going back to my decision for weight loss surgery, it was not an easy one because I looked at it as the easy way out. Come to learn, it is not. And anyone who's ever gone through it will tell you that. But I will also say that it is true that the majority of people who go through weight loss surgery gain the weight back and more. And I did not want to be a statistic. I never want to be a statistic. So I did the research. I went through therapy. I had the surgery. And I will tell you that my goal, because I had a goal, let me back up a little, because my point when I decided to get the weight loss surgery was I had reached my breaking point of that last time of 6 months of working out with a meal plan and a trainer and nothing, I couldn't get below 220, and I was tired of being tired all the time. I wanted to get back to the running, to the trail running, even though I kept hurting my ankles all the time. I enjoyed it. I get that runner's high. And so my goal was to lose enough weight just so I could start running again. I mean, that's all it was. So I got through the surgery, I got through the recovery, and it was hard. Those first few weeks were hard. I ended up getting really dehydrated, and what could have been an ER visit ended up just going to an IV bar to get fluids because I couldn't keep fluids in. And so the weight did come off, obviously, because it does with everyone who goes through weight loss surgery. Because, and I tell this to everyone, weight loss surgery, in my opinion only, is nothing more than forced portion control, because they cut off 3/4 of your stomach. And so yes, you can keep eating the same way you're eating, whether that be the high calorically dense foods like fast food, fried foods, all that stuff. You can still keep eating that, just at smaller portions. But eventually the weight will come back on, because those high calorically dense foods don't keep you full for very long. And you have to, let's take an example, what was it, a sausage McMuffin or something was 900 calories, I mean, fast food has a lot of calories. We all know this, and it's a double-edged sword because we hate looking at the nutritional values, but at the same time, like, we need to look at the nutritional values,
right?
Because we as a society are fed these portion sizes that are just for 3 people.
But yeah, so you went through the surgery. You finally got tired of being tired.
The weight started to come off,
right?
And then COVID happened. We were all on lockdown, and at that time, we did not have the gym because we had already rebuilt it into a mother-in-law suite, but I still had some gym equipment. And so once the gyms got shut down, I would just work out at home. But at the end of the day, it all came down to what I was eating. And yes, those first 6 to 12 months is what they say when you get weight loss surgery, is the honeymoon period. So regardless of what you eat, you will lose weight. It happened, of course, for me. And so right at about the 6-month mark, maybe 7 mark, I discovered macro counting. I learned about macro counting. And it was gibberish to me. I had no idea what it was, and it was hard to understand. So I will tell you, that is the one time in my whole journey here where I spent money on a coach to teach me how to count macros. And $159 times 3 months has reaped its rewards and benefits,
For both of us.
Exactly, yes, because once I learned to macro count or count macros, I was also developing this new love for weightlifting. So what started out as wanting to run again, now I'm starting to lift weights, and I realize I need to, fuel my body in order to get better performance and to continue losing the weight after the honeymoon period expired. And I realized my body was changing, and I liked those changes, as slow as they were. So I developed this love for weightlifting as I learned to count macros. And that's where I learned that in order to change one's lifestyle, one must change their lifestyle. And that sounds so simple, right? But at the end of the day, it's all about how much we eat. I didn't say what we eat, I said how much we eat. And so going back to the premise of, yes, you can continue to eat the same thing you ate, just in smaller portion sizes, and continue to lose weight, but if you don't do anything to change your lifestyle, the weight will eventually come back.
Yeah, weight loss is a lot of quality over quantity.
So when I learned to count macros, that was a light bulb in my head where I said, okay, now this is like a bank account for my food.
Yes.
And, at the end of the day, I can eat whatever I want as long as it fits into this bank account. And that's where I learned moderation.